Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to solve a Java question by using ArrayList, which appeared in one of the CPA exams. The only reason we are going to use ArrayList is because it has many built-in methods. For example, sort. We need not write the code for sorting. We can use the sort method provided by the collection and pass our ArrayList to it. And the element in the ArrayList will get sorted. So let's get started. This is the question which we are going to solve today. So the question goes like this: create a class beach. So they are asking us to create a class named beach with the below attributes. So the attributes are beach ID, beach name, location, beach type, rating, and average visitors per day. And they are asking us to create getters and setters for those attributes. And they are also mentioning that the attributes should be private. And we are also supposed to create parameterized constructors. Then they're asking us to create a class with the name myClass, and then we are supposed to implement a static method with this name, that is find beach with lowest rating. And the parameters for this method will be array of beach objects, a string value, and an int value. That is, in total this method will take 3 parameters. And so in this method they're asking us to return the least rating from the array of beach objects. That is the first parameter. And they are specifying two conditions, that is, that object should have the same location that is given as the second parameter, and it should have the average visitors per day count greater than the visitor count which the method is getting as a third parameter. If no beach with the above conditions is present in the beach objects array, then the method should return 0. And they have given us a note that no two beaches will have the same rating and the location, and the searches should be case sensitive. The above mentioned static method should be called from the main method. And they're asking for the find beach with lowest rating method. The method should print the returned rating as it is, if the returned value is greater than 0. Otherwise, it should print no such beach. So let's see the input and output now. Here we are giving 4 beach objects with the parameters beach ID, beach name, location, beach type, rating, and average number of visitors per day. This is first object, this is second object, this one is third object, and the red one is fourth object. And these two are the other two inputs which we are supposed to give, which is the location and the average visitors per day count. Since we are going to solve this problem using ArrayList, our approach to solve this problem will be: first we will create an ArrayList, and then we will add only those beach objects to the ArrayList which satisfies the given condition. Those are location is North Goa and the average visitor count is 900. So first we'll go to the first object and we'll check is its location North Goa and the average visitor count is greater than 900. So we will add this object to our array list. Then we'll come to the second object and we'll see is its location North Goa, yes, and is its average visitor count is greater than 900. Here it is 3000, so yes, it is greater than 900. We will also add the second object to the array list. Then we'll come to the third object and we'll check is its location North Goa, no, so we will not check further. Then we'll come to the fourth object and we will check if the location is North Goa, yes, and the count is greater than 900. Yes, here it is 1000, which is greater than 900. Then finally our array list will be having 3 beach objects, which is this one with the ID 123, and this one with the ID 345, and this one with the ID 213. Then we will use the sort method provided by the collection, and we will sort the beach objects inside the array list based on the rating. Okay, so the beach objects inside the array list will get sorted according to the rating in the ascending order. So the beach object with the lowest rating will be present in the first location, that is at the index 0. So we will simply return the rating of the first beach object that is the rating of the first element in the array list. So let's see the code. Since we are going to use ArrayList for this program, we will be needing two imports here, one for the scanner and one for the ArrayList. So I'll write import java.util.scanner and import java.util.ArrayList. Instead of writing these two statements separately, I can also write import java.util.star. What this line will do is it will import every sub-package which is present under the package util. That is, this line will import util.scanner also and util.ArrayList also and all the other packages which is present under the package util. Now we will create the main class. Since in the question they have specified the name of the class, that is create a class my class. So we should name the main class as my class. So we'll write public class my class, then public, this is the main method, public static void main string args, and now we'll create the class which they have asked us to create. So they have asked us to create a class beach with the below attributes, which are beach id, beach name, location, beach type, rating, and average visitors per day. So I'll create class beach. First we'll create a integer attribute which is beach id, then attribute of type string which is beach name, then third attribute which is also of type string and it is location, next attribute is also of type string and it is beach type, beach type. Next two attributes are of type integer, so I'll write type, so I'll write int rating and int average visitors per day. Since they have specified all the attributes should be private, so I'll make all the attributes as private. And I'll copy this and I'll paste it here and here, here and here. Next we are supposed to create getters, setters and parameterized constructors. So first we'll create parameterized constructor which is beach, and then we'll specify the parameters which this constructor will take. Those are int beach id, beach name, location, beach type, then rating, finally average visitors count, that is int average visitors per day. Now we'll set the attributes to the values received through constructors. So I'll write this dot beach id is equal to beach id, this dot beach name is equal to beach name, this dot location is equal to location, then this dot beach type equal to beach type, then this dot rating equal to rating, finally this dot average visitors per day is equal to average visitors per day. Now that's done. Now we are supposed to create getters and setters. First I'll create getter for beach ID. So I'll write int get beach ID, return this dot beach ID. Next I will create getter for beach name. So it will be, so we are supposed to make getters public. So write public string get beach name and will return this dot beach name. Next we will create getter for location. So I'll write public string get location and I'll return this dot location. Then I'll create getter for beach type, public string get beach type and I'll return this dot beach type. Next getter for rating, so public int get rating, return this dot rating. Next getter for average visitor per day, public or by the data type which is integer, then get average visitors per day. Then I will return this dot average visitor per day. Now we have created getters. Now we will create setters. First I'll create setter for beach ID. So I'll write public void set beach ID and I will receive beach ID as a parameter here, and I'll set this dot beach ID is equal to beach ID. Next we'll create setter for beach name, public void set beach name, and here we'll receive a parameter of type string which will be beach name, and we'll set this dot beach name is equal to beach name. Then we'll create setter for location, public void, and we'll name it as set location, and we'll receive location from here, and we'll set this dot location is equal to location. If you don't know what I'm doing here, just check out my previous videos where I have explained what are getters and what are setters and how do we create getters and setters. Next I'll create setter for beach type. So I'll write set beach type and I'll receive string here which will be beach type, and I'll set this dot beach type is equal to beach type. Then we'll create setter for rating, so it will be public and return nothing, and we'll name it as set rating, and it will receive rating as the input. And we'll set this dot rating is equal to rating. Finally, we'll create a setter for average visitors per day. So I'll write public void set average visitors per day, and we'll receive a parameter of type integer here which will be visitor. I'll name it as visitors, and we'll set it to average visitors per day is equal to visitors. So the next step is to write the code to accept the inputs. So first we'll declare the variables which we need, which are int beach id, string beach name, string location, string beach type, int rating, and int average visitors per day. Next we'll write the code to create an array which will hold the beach objects. So I'll create an array of type beach with the name beach, and I'll specify its size as 4, since we'll store 4 objects in this array. Next we'll create a scanner c is equal to new scanner, and we'll pass system dot in. Since we want to receive 4 objects, so we'll write a for loop to accept the objects one by one. So I'll write for loop for int is equal to 0. It should loop the number of times which is equal to length of the beach array, and we'll write I++. The first input which we will receive is beach id, so I'll write beach id since it is of type integer. So I'll write sc.nextInt. Since the input which we are going to receive next is of type string, so you have to manually move the cursor to the next line. For that we'll write sc.nextLine, sc.nextLine. We have to write sc.nextLine only if we are receiving a string input immediately after receiving an integer input. So next take a string input which is beach type, and we'll write sc.nextLine, Next we'll receive a location which is of type string. So I'll write c dot next line. The next input is also of type string. So I'll write beach type is equal to sc dot next line. Next two inputs are of type integer. So we can write rating is equal to sc dot next int and average visitors per day is equal to sc dot next int. This loop will run 4 times since the length of beach array is 4. Next we will pass these inputs to the constructor which will create the object for us. So we'll write beach of I is equal to new beach constructor. To this constructor we will pass all the inputs which we receive. So we'll pass beach ID. Sorry, I missed one input here. So it is beach name. I was supposed to write beach name is equal to sc dot next line. Now we have beach name also, so we'll pass beach name here. Then location, then beach type, then rating, finally average visitors per day. Visitors per day. After receiving these 4 objects of the type beach, we are also supposed to receive 2 more inputs which are location and the count. Since the location is of type string and we are receiving the input of type string which is location, immediately after receiving the average visitors per day count of the last object which is of type integer, so we are supposed to move the cursor to the next line manually. So we'll write sc dot next line, then I'll create a variable called query location to store the location. Then I write sc dot next line since it is of type string. Then finally we'll receive average visitors per day count. So I'll name the variable as average visitors. You can name it as anything. I'll name it as average visitors, and then I'll write sc dot next int since it is of type integer. Now we are done with receiving the inputs. The next step is to create the static method. In the question they have given implement a static method, and it is the name of the method which is find beach with the lowest rating, and this method should have 3 parameters which are: first parameter is array of beach object, second parameter is a string value, and third parameter is an integer value. Outside the main method we'll create the static method. So I will write static, and in the question they are specified this method should return the least rating from the array of beach objects which receives a location and average visitors per day, and if no beach with the above condition is present in the array of beach objects, then the method should return 0. So we are supposed to return the integer because they are asking us to return the least rating, and the condition which they have given is the beach object should be in the given location and it should have the visitors per day count greater than the visitors count which the method receives through third parameter. So I'll write the return type as integer, then the name of the method which is find beach with lowest rating, and this method will have three parameters, which are, first one is a beach object array. I'll name it as B, and the second parameter is of type string, which will be the location, and third parameter is of type integer, which will specify the average visitors per day count. So I'll name it as average visitors only. Now the first step while using ArrayList is to create an ArrayList. So I'll create an ArrayList to hold the objects of type beach. So I'll write ArrayList, then I'll specify the type as beach, and I'll name this ArrayList as beach. Then I'll specify new keyword, then again I'll write ArrayList, and I'll specify the type again, and finally the parentheses. These parentheses are important. So the next step is we will iterate through the beach array which we received. If the beach object has the location same as the location which we are receiving in the second parameter, and if that beach object has the average visitors per day count greater than the count which we are receiving as the third parameter, then we will add that beach object to our array list. So first we'll do that. For that I'll write for int is equal to 0 is less than b dot length, which is the length of the beach array, then write I++. And in the question they have specified that the all beach searches should be case sensitive, so we are going to use inbuilt function equals to compare the locations. So I'll write if condition. First I'll check whether the location of the beach object, and I'll specify the getter here. So get the beach location is equals to the location which we are receiving as a second parameter, and we need another condition. So I'll specify AND operator here, and I'll check if the beaches count, that is the count of the average visitors per day, is greater than the count which we are receiving as a third parameter. So I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. And if an object matches these conditions, then we will add that object to the beach array. So to add the object to the beach array, I'll write beach dot add, and I'll specify the index of the object in the beach array. So after this for loop runs, we'll be having only those beach objects which are in the specified location and which has the visitors count greater than the specified visitor count in the beach array list. The next step is to sort the beach objects according to their rating. So since we want to sort the objects based on a property called as rating, so we are supposed to create comparator for that. In comparator, we'll specify based on which property of the object we want to arrange the elements in the array list. Before doing that, first we'll check if any object got added to the beach array list, because if no object is present which meets these conditions, which are the same location and the count greater than the average count, then the beach array list will not have any beach objects. So first we'll check if beach array list size is greater than 0 or not. If the beach array list size is greater than 0, then we are good to go, and then we can start sorting the objects. Otherwise we'll simply return 0. Now coming to the if part. So since we are going to sort the objects based on the rating, so we are supposed to create a comparator for that. It's very easy to create a comparator. To create a comparator, you should write the keyword comparator, followed by the type of the object. Then we can name the comparator. So I'll name the comparator as mySort, since I'm creating this comparator for sorting in ascending order. Then I'll write comparator dot comparing. This is a inbuilt method, and here I'll specify we have to compare the property which is inside the beach object, and the comparator can get the property name by using the getter get rating. Now we're done with the comparator. The next step is to sort the array list based on the comparator settings, which is to sort the beach objects based on rating. So next I'll simply write collections. We are going to use collections for this, and we are going to use the sort method provided by the collection. And to this sort method, first we'll specify the name of the array list which we want to sort. So it is beach here, since I have named the array list as beach. And as the second argument, we will pass the comparator which we just created, which is mySort, to sort the objects based on the rating property. Now we are done with the sorting. After this code runs, the array list will have the beach objects sorted in the ascending order according to the rating. So what we can do is we can simply return the rating of the first object, that is the object present at the 0th index. Since the sorting is done in ascending order, so the object present in the first location will be having the lowest rating. So I'll simply return, first I'll specify the beach array list, then I'll specify the index of the first object, which will be 0. Then we will specify the object attribute which we want to return, which is get rating. So this line will return the value of the rating attribute of the first object in the array list. Now we are done with the find beach with lowest rating method. Now we can call this method inside the main method. So to call this static method, first we'll specify the method name. So I'll copy this and paste it here, and we'll pass 3 arguments, which are first one is a beach array, second one is the query location, and third one is the average visitors count. And we'll store the result which this method returns in an integer variable, and we will name this variable as result. So going back to the question, in question they have specified the main method should print the returned rating as it is if the returned value is greater than 0. Otherwise it should print no such beach. So we'll check if the result, which is the rating which this static method returned, is greater than 0. If the rating is greater than 0, then we'll simply print the rating by using system.out.println and passing the rating. Else, if the rating is not greater than 0, we'll simply print no such beach. So I'll write system.out.println, then I'll write no such beach. Now we are done with the coding. So once we'll revise what we just did. So first what we did was to import the packages which we need. Then we created the main class. After that we created the beach class with the private attributes and a constructor and all the getters and setters. Then after creating the class, we wrote the code to accept the inputs, first we declared the variables, then we created the beach array which can hold 4 objects, then we created the scanner. After that we wrote a for loop which will iterate the number of times which is equal to beach length, that is the length of the beach array, and we passed those inputs to the beach constructor to create the objects from these input values. Next we wrote the code to accept other two inputs which are query location and average visitors. Then we created the static method find beach with the lowest rating with the return type integer, since it is going to return rating which is of type integer. And for this method we specified three parameters: beach, array, location, and average visitors count. Then we created an array list of the type beach. Then we wrote a for loop to add only those beach objects to the array list which meets these conditions, which are location and visitor count. Then we wrote an if else block where in the if block will execute only if the array list size is greater than 0. Otherwise we simply return 0 as given in the question. And if the size was greater than 0, we created a comparator to specify based on which objects attribute we want to sort the objects in the array list. Then we used the collection sort method and we passed our beach array list to it along with the comparator specifying the attribute based on which the objects need to be sorted. Then we returned the rating attribute of the first object. Since the first object or the first element in the array list will be having the lowest rating, since the elements are sorted according to the ascending order. Then we call this static method by passing the necessary arguments, and we store the result in a result variable. And this result variable will receive the lowest rating returned by this find beach with the lowest rating method. And then we checked if the result is greater than 0, that is lowest rating is greater than 0. If it was greater than 0, we printed the lowest rating. Else we outputted this message which is no such beach if the lowest rating is not greater than 0. So now I'll run this program and now it is waiting for the input. So I will copy this input from here and I'll paste the input here. So I'm getting an exception, input mismatch exception in line 16. So if I go to line 16, here you can see next int, next line, next int. Okay, I've written here as next line. Here I'm supposed to write next line. So if I run the program again, if I open the input window, I'll paste the input. So I'm getting one more error. Okay, so I've written beach type 2 times here. So I'll delete the beach type which I created before the location. I'll run the program again. I'll paste the input. Now it's working. Now I'll press enter and you can see the output. I'm getting the output as 3. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll provide the link to this code in the description. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe my channel, and thank you for watching.